Once you're comfortable with basic note and rest input with your mouse, you can start adding to your note input process by including a few more objects like ties, articulations, and accidentals. The process of inputting a tie in Sibelius is much the same as if you're writing your music out by hand. To input a tie, escape so that nothing is selected in the score, select a duration in the keypad, and input a note on the page. To add a tie to the note, immediately click the tie button in the keypad panel. Sibelius draws in your tie for you. Go ahead and change your duration if you'd like to tie over to a different duration, and input the second note, which needs to be the same pitch as the first. And the two notes are now tied together. Let's do that one more time. Input your next note, press the tie key, and input the second note of the same pitch. And the two notes are tied. So tying notes is very simple. Remember not to confuse a tie with a slur. The button on the keypad is for a tie, and it must connect two notes of the same pitch. When you're comfortable with ties, you can start experimenting with adding articulations to your notes. To input an articulation, escape a few times so that nothing is selected in your score, select a note duration in the keypad, and select an articulation to go along with it. I'm going to go ahead and choose an accent. You'll load the two objects together into your mouse. Hover over a position in a bar where you'd like the note to go, and click in the note. Sibelius will continue to keep the duration and the articulation selected. If you want to add another note with the same articulation, simply click the note in. You can even change duration, and it keeps the articulation attached to it, and input another note. If you no longer want the articulation on your next note, simply toggle it off in the keypad, and then input your next note without an articulation. So go ahead and experiment with the three main articulations in the keypad: the accent, the staccato, and the tenuto. You can even add all three of them at once if you'd like to. When you're ready to move forward, the last few objects to add into your basic note input process are accidentals. Inputting an accidental is much like inputting an articulation, but with one small difference. When you input an accidental, the accidental will automatically toggle itself off. So to input an accidental, escape a few times so that nothing is selected in your score, select a note duration in the keypad, and select an accidental to go along with it. You'll load the two objects together into your mouse. Hover over a position in the bar where you'd like the note to go, and click. And the accidental will appear. After you input a note with an accidental, the accidental that you have selected in the keypad will toggle itself off automatically so that you don't need to deselect it before inputting your next note. In Sibelian, we like to call notes by their accidentals first and then their letter name. For example, we would call a B flat a flat B because we have to choose the flat sign first and then input the pitch B on the staff. If you start thinking that way, you'll be a bit more successful with note input in Sibelius. Also keep in mind as you work with accidentals that if you put in an altered note in the bar, it's assumed that the alteration continues through the remainder of the bar. So if you input a flat B at the beginning of a bar, all you have to do to get another flat B in the bar is input a plain B. You wouldn't have to add the flat sign again, and in fact, if you did add the flat sign again, it would reappear like this, and you probably wouldn't want it to. On the flip side, if you input a flat B at the start of a bar, let's go ahead and do that. And if you need the next B within the bar to be natural, you'll have to input it as a natural B, selecting the natural sign and then inputting the pitch B. Within a single bar, inputting notes and accidentals is very much like writing by hand. Where there may be a bit of confusion in Sibelius is what happens in the bar after you've inputted an altered note. So if you input a flat B in a bar like I have here, let's go ahead and do this again actually. We'll put another one in here. Here we go. I'm just going to escape and maneuver over so we can see the next bar. So if you input that flat B in this bar here, and then you input a plain B with no accidental in the next bar, Sibelius will automatically add the natural sign to the next B for you. This is part of Sibelius's cautionary accidentals feature, which has unfortunately been a part of every major Sibelius house style since Sibelius 6. I say unfortunately because it can definitely be confusing for you as you begin learning how to input notes. Also, not everyone wants this feature turned on all of the time, and it takes going into a fairly advanced place to turn it off. Finally, it's something that you'll have to remember to turn off every time you create a new score in Sibelius if you're using any of the Sibelius house styles. So I feel responsible for teaching you about this feature and how to turn it off so that you can decide if you want to use it or not, rather than having Sibelius decide that for you. So here goes. You can turn cautionary accidentals off by visiting the Appearance tab, the House Style group on the left-hand side, and clicking on Engraving Rules. Once in Engraving Rules, you should be on the Accidentals and Dots page. If you're not, go ahead and click that. And on this page, if you uncheck all of the checkboxes in the Cautionary Accidentals section at the bottom, then you'll end up turning the feature off. Go ahead and click OK. And if you unchecked all of the boxes, you'll notice that all of the cautionary accidentals in your score will go away. We no longer see the natural sign on that B. Keep in mind that you can add cautionary accidentals into your score manually if you'd like to during note input. There will never be anything stopping you from attaching an accidental to a note, but now you have control over whether cautionary accidentals will appear or not. You may find that if you take some time to look through the cautionary accidentals options in Engraving Rules, that you prefer some settings over others, and perhaps some cautionaries over nothing at all, and that's entirely up to you. Just remember that whatever changes you make to anything in Engraving Rules, including the cautionary accidental settings, that you'll only be affecting that one score that you have open at the time that you make the change. Engraving Rules are global to the file, they are not preferences, so they don't affect every file that you open in Sibelius. Once you choose the cautionary accidental setting that you prefer, continue the practice of inputting notes, rests, ties, articulations, and accidentals with your mouse until you feel comfortable moving into more advanced note input practices.